an eminent male in the field of social inequality studies. I headed the Department of Sociology at JIT for the last 6 years. Dr. Vivek.
Thank you, sir. At the outset, let me thank the President of the ISS and the Secretary and the Managing Committee for posing faith in me that I can really speak on the topic. But friends, it's a very, very nostalgic moment for me because two of my teachers, I think, we are the first batch. One is sitting here, Professor Kumar, the other is sitting there, Professor Maitri Chaudhary. And I'm afraid whether they will grade me B plus or A minus, I don't know. So thank you, sir. Why I want to congratulate ISS, because I always think that sociology had a task, and the way sociology emerged, as Wallenstein wrote in Open the Social Sciences, that how it was practiced, the pain and agony of the masses. And we were also taught that sociology means parantai dukhai. Sociology is not for santai sukhai. It is not for our own happiness. It is for the pain and agony of the others to understand. And I think the theme says it all. And therefore, I will like to begin with a narrative which says violence and inequality both in a very, very apt manner, and the biography of Veeramma, which is from Tamil Nadu, done by Racine and Racine after 10 years of the fieldwork. And this para is a very, very telling story of violence and inequality suffered by women, as my previous speaker was talking. Just bear with me, and I quote, Veeramma is offering silent memory of caste violence. Violence has been very much part of Veeramma's horizon. Veeramma depicts established silent violence of the system of oppression which has worked so intensely for long. This is the violence of hunger. This is the violence of sickness which killed 9 of her 12 children in the prime. This is the hidden violence of the words or the gesture expressed in all possible shades of contempt. When the upper caste landlords, government officials, or simple peasant talk to Dalits or talk about them, the violence of bondage, debt, economic dependency, the violence of fate and uncertainty, the violence of sex, sometimes proposed and sometimes imposed upon poor women who are expected to lie down for the little money for medical care at the local hospital. Finally, there is a subdued, general and permanent violence which sustains the daily life of the untouchability, the violence of tradition which gives no consideration to pariahs. If that is not all, friends, I think there is plethora of writing which are now telling us the indexes, whether it is HDI, where India figures 132 out of 196, whether it is the corruption index, or whether it is the infant mortality index, or whatever it is actually. But I'm not going into that detail because as a sociologist, numbers frighten me, and therefore I come actually, why should we be engaging as a sociologist? And what is the way out? So I don't have time to read the paper. Therefore, what I will do, I will just give an outline so that my friends who are there, those especially my students, I can see them, they can definitely learn a little bit what I am going to speak. Because I am seeing nowadays that when the students come, they do not touch their variables in their headlines or heading of the title of the paper. Therefore, what I will do is that I will definitely touch upon my variables which I have used, and therefore I begin what inequality is and how I understand inequality in sociology. Especially I begin with the dictionary meaning, and then definitely there is a philosophical meaning. I am not going into that detail, but what is very important that how in Indian society, through the legal sense of the term and then the constitutional means, how inequality was understood. Now, what I do, there is a way that you have to iti and there is niti. If you are doing niti, that means you are actually going for a positive direction. Now, therefore, friends, I just begin with the preamble of India, where actually in the preamble of India we gave a very good ontological aspect of equality. Why somebody will speak of equality? That is the very important issue that we should raise to ourselves, that why preamble was given equality as a slogan. But we did not stop there. We went further, and there when we talked about equality of opportunity. Now in that context, Article 16 and then many other equalities were given. Why? Because we were knowing ourselves that look, we are an unequal society. The problem is that we are not ready to accept still, even in 21st century, and we are given numbers after numbers. Yes, friends, there are utopia, and we also live in the utopia, but very important aspect of is, भाई ये तो बड़ा disturbance है भाई पांच मिनट बात क्यों कर रहे हो इससे क्या परेशानी है प्रोफेसर we know the time don't give it love sir structure सब खराब don't do that सुबह से 4 घंटा हम लोग ने भी सुना 5 मिनट आप सुन लीजिए So, the Indian Constitution, especially when they were talking about that why we have to give the people equality, I think that's where the different, sections of society started emerging in our mind that yes, we have to give them some very important aspect so that equality can prevail. But the problem is that when we start looking after 73 years of the functioning of our constitution, what is the outcome? Is there equality of the outcome? That's where my second variable, that is universalism, starts emerging. Because in Indian society, there has been Vedic utopia of universalism that talks about Vasudeva Kutumbakam or Yatra Nari Pujante Ramante Tatra Devta. But that is not all. Even Buddhist utopia, whether if you look the Sadh Dharma Pundrik, the Lotus Sutra, it talks about equality. But that is not all. If you look that Baba Sahib Ambedkar was trying to argue that I have not taken equality, liberty and fraternity from French Revolution because that is political in nature. I have taken equality, liberty and fraternity from my master, the Buddha, because in which fraternity is given a higher pedestal. Why? Because you can make a law for equality, you can make a law for liberty, but you cannot make a law for fraternity. And that's where I think was a very, very important utopia of Buddhism which was being given a practical shape through our constitutional mechanism. But friends, that is not all. Even at the grassroots, the same poets who did not go to the university, they were nursing a utopia of Begumpura. Why? There should not be any sorrow. But that is not all, friends. Even the Sufi saints who came actually and abnegated for their own aspects of their comfort zone and yet welcomed with open arms. That is the ethos of the Indian society where universalism, acceptance for everyone prevailed. But how did it become particularistic? And that's the question I think we should ask. And sociologists have to answer. Why did they accept one Purusukta 10th Mandal, 90th Richa, that this is the social structure is based on, without any reflexivity, without any criticality? How did they accept out of 10,600 Richas of the Rig Veda, one Richa was accepted and the social structure was laid down? How? I think that's where the role of sociologist begins. And in this context, friends, when I look at, I think Bourdieu bails me out, and I look at Hegelian structure as well, that what was the role and the statuses distributed to the societal people at large. And after the distribution of roles and statuses, how that role and statuses were consolidated. And that's where I think we can bring in Bourdieu, that how cultural capital of certain people were accumulated, and once the cultural capital was accumulated, they got charisma, and those who were relegated to periphery, they got stigma. Now this cultural charisma and stigma is still going on, and that's why we see lots of movement. And I think there will be movement. There will be movement. We have made HDI, Human Development Index. We have made actually Happiness Index. But I propose there should be also Human Distress Index. I think we have to at least look at the human distress which is produced by one rape. You know, 152 atrocity cases per day on the Dalits still take place in 21st century. This is the distress. And rape of a Dalit woman, I do not know actually how she becomes touchable. And therefore, that distress, how much mark you can give in a scale, that we have to find out. Therefore, I think if we really want to tackle the inequality and violence, I think we will have to reapproach our sociology, starting from the universalism to particularism, why and how without reflexivity we have accepted, and then evolve an index that will definitely talk about the distress of the masses in Indian society. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Vivek Kumar. The way you connected particularities and universality and the imperative of our Indian Constitution and the recognition about the need to establish a system of equality of opportunity. And the bottom line you identified for the new generation of sociologists, not only looking at Human Development Index or Happiness Index, but also human racism. Thank you very much. Now we have the last speaker.